Welcome back. Welcome back to our final day, day 3 of this intro to Deep Feminine Somatics. And my name is Dévashi from Somatic Feminine. And I want to invite a bit more experience in your body today before I get into sharing the methods that are used in this Deep Feminine approach to help you understand a little bit more about what's being offered at Somatic Feminine. And so you can do this sitting in a chair. But if you want to come down onto the ground with me and actually let yourself have this, feel this, experience this instead of just watching, that would be the way to get the most out of this. And like I explained yesterday, this kind of sharing, this kind of information, it doesn't necessarily totally make sense just to your linear mind. And so the more you can hear it and receive it into your body, into your heart, into your breath, into your feelings, that's where it really makes sense. Because the deep feminine realm is not just about the realm of logic, it is the realm of feeling and sensation. So if you've had the chance to come down onto the ground, if that's where you want to be, I want to invite you once again to take attention away from your screen and in close to your body. And if you're willing to let your breath deepen in this moment, and when you exhale, to let it come out like you just heard me do then, with a deep sigh or sound. To feel this even more, if you want to place a hand at your belly or womb and a hand at your chest, your heart area, and close your eyes, or almost close your eyes, and take a deep, full breath, firstly into your lower hand. So when you inhale, your hand is moving out, and then your upper hand, the full deep breath also up into your chest. When you exhale, emptying from your upper hand first, and emptying your breath down below your lower hand. It's a lot easier than it sounds, sure. So when you exhale fully, it's like you're emptying breath out of your body. So when you go now to inhale, you're filling out your lower hand, and then letting your breath rise to your upper hand. When you exhale, emptying out first through your chest, lungs, rib cage, and then down in your belly. Let's try that again. Deep breath in, filling up your belly first. Then deepen your breath, widen up through your chest, torso, lungs, ribs. And exhaling completely with a sigh now. And then just breathing naturally and noticing if there is a bit more space that you notice inside. And just feeling what it's like to have awareness in both your lower body through your belly and your upper body around your heart. And right now, I'm going to suggest to bring both hands down to your hip bones and just breathe here. Feeling the sensation of your breath widen your hips under your hands. And exhaling here also. Almost like your hips are actually breathing. Tuning into your pelvic womb energies. Keeping awareness down here between your hands as you breathe in and out. And keeping awareness here at your hips as you rest your hands now. And if you can, taking awareness to where your base meets your seat or the floor. Just taking your time to locate these pelvic muscles at your base. Press them down into the ground, maybe in a circular motion. And while you're doing this, the intention is to pull awareness all the way down to where your body's moving. Right down at your base, the bottom of your pelvic bones. And then the other way, if you're circling, it's like you're sensing the roots at the base of your body and keeping your attention and your breath down here in your pelvic bones a little longer. It might feel a bit different. It might even feel a bit disorientating. I'm inviting you to just be willing to notice how this feels for you today. Might be really comfortable, might be a little uncomfortable. Just seeing how it feels to connect here with your instinctual body. And then coming center and just moving a little, maybe side to side or really slightly forward and back. Again, sensing your pelvic bones anchoring down towards the earth. Having a sense of really rooting yourself down to earth. And from there, being able to create a sense of a lift up through your spine. Bringing awareness now to your chest, your heart, your rib cage, the front and at the back. Bringing some movement to this area, like you're isolating your rib cage, your chest, circling maybe once again. Letting it be very physical, so there's a sense of expansion and opening at the back and the front of your heart area. And maybe you come across tension in some places, so you want to make sure it gets to be side out. Breathe it out. Sometimes it's a psychological tension, physical or emotional. And then circling the other way, giving all attention here to your torso, your heart, your chest, widening your movement, breathing into your body. Taking some time to really take up space through your chest, through your heart. Maybe you feel your collarbone widening, your shoulders melting down. And then coming to a central place, still aware in your heart, chest area. And just noticing if you feel a bit more aliveness, a bit more space here in your heart, chest. From there, dropping your chin down towards your chest. Feeling a little stretch there at the back of your neck. Sighing any tension out and then letting your ears circle around to one shoulder. Gently supporting your neck as it rolls back, bringing your ear to your other shoulder. Just breathing naturally and continuing in a slow pace of circling where all awareness is where your body is moving. Taking this time to fully feel into your body, letting your mind go loose, releasing tension out. Let it be nice and slow so you actually get to meet what's sitting here through your neck, through your shoulders. And moving the other way now in these neck, head rolls. If there's any tightness, moving even slower to take care of yourself in these places. And then letting your head and your neck come up to a neutral position. Just giving a little time to intuitively allow any more movement that wants to happen with your head up. And keeping awareness there in your body with your eyes still closed. Just noticing how it feels now through your neck, shoulders, where your head meets your body. And coming back to that full deep breath that we began with. And you might want to use your hands again to help you with that, with a hand at your belly, hand at your heart. Breathing into your lower hand, and then your upper hand. And taking a few big, full, sighing breaths out. Another inhale. And whatever feeling happens to be here in your body, let that have a voice. One more time. And just let your hands relax, letting your breath be natural, keeping your eyes closed or close to your body still. Just noticing how it feels now. Do you feel more presence? Is there more aliveness, more groundedness? throughout your body. Can you still feel connection down through your base? Does your heart still feel a little lifted? Is it a little looser through your neck and shoulders? Just having the intention to let the words being shared today to be heard throughout your whole body and being, not just your mind. And if you're ready to gradually open your eyes, I want to invite you to look away from your screen and very, very slowly let your eyes connect with where you are and what's around you. Taking it nice and slow. Letting your eyes be curious about what it is that they're seeing. Letting it be so slow that you're noticing the textures, the details, the shapes of what's here in your space. And letting that happen to your other side also. And just giving yourself a few moments to be with you before coming back in connection here with me. So I want to welcome you once again. If you let yourself actually have that experience, you probably notice something different now in your body. And that's just a tiny snippet of the somatic embodiment practices that get shared in this deep feminine approach. Just a very, very simple version right there. And in case you didn't see the days before this, I want to mention that on day one in the overview, I shared the definitions behind what the deep feminine approach to somatic actually means. And then on day two, I shared about what it actually might open up and allow for in your experience of being a woman. And today, in day three, the focus is more on the methods and some outcomes, the methods that we teach in the somatic training, and just a few results along the way of what women have received from this work. And there is more detail that you could take in about the training after this. All you need to do is just ask, and that will be sent to you, possibly by email. But you're welcome to reach out on social media. It's really the quickest, most direct way to just send a message on Instagram or Facebook to Somatic Feminine or myself, Dévashi Shakti, and the full training info will be shared with you that way. For now, I really just want to give more of a sense of what happens, and maybe transmit more of the feeling of the experience. And you can read further details, including all the dates and everything like that of the next enrollment after you listen to this. And so, yes, this deep feminine approach is all about initiation into living as an embodied woman. And the option is there to be able to pass on that experience to your clients if you choose to apply these skills professionally as well as personally. And the context of all of this is about embodying, actually embodying your female power. And the women that tend to find Somatic Feminine, find me and what I teach, tend to have already done a lot of personal development work, possibly some somatic learning before. And so you are familiar, I'm sure, listening to this right now, about this saying that women commonly talk about of wanting to step in to your feminine power, stepping in to your female embodiment. So this work is about fully anchoring that, no longer talking about it as a wishful, hopeful experience of the future. It's having it now. It's actually creating the experience in your body, in your nervous system, in your energy field, that you actually get to live from this place you've stepped in already. That's what this work is all about. And that happens by experiencing your body as the mystical portal that it actually is, beyond its biological functioning. And that happens through how we relate with our natural sensuality and through our natural phases that we go through in these female bodies of our creative life force energy. And it's all of this understanding, all of these teachings and practices around everything I just said is in harmony with somatic techniques, therapeutic somatic techniques that open greater intimacy with both yourself, your body, and others. And that those others might be your partner, your family, your children, as well as your clients, your friends. And I did talk already about how the actual methods that are being shared are different to general somatic therapy approaches, because we're intentionally facilitating a deepening into your female experience. So this is very specialized for women and for female bodies and psyches. Yes, and there is something very sacred and very special in the experience of being able to go so deep into your own felt sense, into your own what becomes a somatic gnosis of your own pathway opening up before you, because you've gone so deep into yourself. So rather than just replicating techniques and teachings that are the same that other people are doing, you get to actually have this alchemical process inside of you that brings you into touch with your own unique creativity. And that is an emphasized different thing that this training actually brings. And there's a lot of support to help you find what that even is, and then be able to offer it in your own unique way, this deep feminine approach to somatics for women. And that happens by being willing to follow like an unknown pathway that is going to be maybe something beyond what you would have thought. And I want to give a different example today around a woman that assumed that she was going to be going forth and teaching embodiment classes to women after doing some training with me. And what actually happened was that she just answered the call that was actually coming to her and what people were seeking her out for. And at the time, she was working in a corporate type of environment with all women, actually. And because of how differently she was relating with herself and her feminine energy in her body, it really showed in her presence. And so what happened is that the women around her in that environment were like asking for it, pulling it out of her to facilitate processes in that environment, which does not look the same as a yoga class, to bring this awareness, to bring this connection with self in a different environment. And she didn't think about that. She wasn't that wasn't her idea to begin with. But there are ways that are unexpected that just open up, where you just naturally are in more of a leadership role because of who you've become. And when following those organic pathways that actually open up in the world because you've opened them up inside of you, this is something really quite magical and amazing, to allow what's unexpected to open up. And so I'm going to go forth now, sharing about some methods to become an initiated woman that we share about in somatic feminine training. And the first step of it, by the way, is officially the Women's Embodiment Guide certification. And it is a 1-year deep dive into yourself, into these methods, into these teachings and practices. And it is obviously both a very personal application and a professional somatic training process. And I wanted to say as well, the women, I've done a lot of one-on-one work with women over a couple of decades. And what I would share with women most of the time in 3-month or 6-month private one-on-one journeys with women is actually all contained in this training. And so rather than do it separately, I'm encouraging women that may have previously wanted to work with me one-on-one to actually come and experience it in the group field, because there is way more to receive in this space, actually, with the length of time, with the depth of the content, and with the interaction with each other. It's like women mirror and represent certain energies to each other, and it just adds so much more to the experience. And because you also get the option to become very confident in these somatic skills for you, but also to share if you wanted to, it's just so much more worthwhile. And so I wanted to share that because I know that some women that have known me for quite some time might be especially relevant if that's you. If you've ever had it in mind that you wanted to do one-on-one journeying with me at some point, I really recommend the group experience instead. And so somatic embodiment for real life is the first point here that I want to emphasize. There are actual practices that have emerged from this women's approach to somatic psychotherapy that aren't, in-depth techniques, in-depth therapy techniques to share with clients. This is stepping it back to your connection with you. So there are a series of somatic presencing practices which allow you to feel way more grounded and embodied in yourself, in your own practices, in your own solo time, which cultivates states of self-mastery gradually, but also in relating, in interactions with others, which leads to relational mastery. And this is very much the feminine domain. This is very much a key manifestation of expanded feminine presence taking up space in your life, that you're really looking into both implementing this with yourself and others. And in this moment, I'm talking about your relationship, intimate partnership. I'm talking about you and your children. I'm talking about you and your friends and everyone that's valuable and important to you in your personal life. There's a way that this learning transmits and gets to kind of infiltrate the environments that you're already in. So somatic embodiment for real life, it's quite extensive, and what's been developed around this to help you actually be the embodiment of this work, rather than it being a training that you take in at some point and you kind of lose the detail of it after time has passed and you go on to learn other things. And that is what happens ordinarily when you're taking it in as just a technique. When it is who you've become, it is so grounded and earthed and rewired into how you experience you, that it's coming from a totally different place. And how this powerfully anchors in is through what I call the pillars of your embodied female power. And I've spoken to these a little bit around birth, blood, menopause, your natural sensuality, natural sensuality and sexuality rather. So your feminine body as a navigation resource, the things that actually become available, the level of insight, the level of intuition, the level of instinctual wisdom that opens up inside of you and can literally take you in a different direction than your mind alone would have come up with. These pillars of embodied female power with the nuanced somatic therapy tools are kind of the real depth of essence of this work. And all of that leads to somatic safety, where you become a deeply safe place to yourself. And I want to pause after saying that for you to actually take a moment to breathe that in. What it might feel like to have such deep trust in how you relate, how you experience your own boundaries, how you experience being the most beautiful and loving guide for yourself in your own life in a very embodied way. So this is the transformation of girl to woman that we're really talking about here, or the transformation of what has been unconscious in you based on past trauma, being able to transform into leading yourself into the path of wisdom, the path of beauty, the path of higher consciousness, grounded and embodied. And connected to all of that is the process of making peace with your primordial, instinctual, feminine energy. And in theory, that might sound desirable and attractive, and you might even feel like, well, I already have that. I promise you that when you are working with very in-depth, subtle practices, it will open and expand it and make it more available to you than it ever was before. And so becoming wired or rewiring your nervous system to the woman that you wish to be, this is the incredible outcome. And specifically to be living more in post-traumatic growth energy than just in the experience of trying to release or offload stress and tension from past trauma. There's a big difference, okay? So with somatic work, the assumption initially is that what it's going to be about is releasing stored emotion from past challenges and difficult experiences that you've been through, that your body has held onto, that your tissues have kind of locked into place, and you're experiencing life through those complex places of trauma in your nervous system patterning. This is commonly the understanding of what somatic work is. And it's correct, it's right. That's what happens. But we also go beyond that. And I've explained that a little bit already in the other videos. So post-traumatic growth energy is where you are feeling free from looping in the repetitive patterns that happen, and actually learning how to set yourself up, rewire yourself for the experiences that you do wish to be having, the more pleasurable, the more connected, the more wealthy, the more expansive somehow. And what we've got to do as women to have that experience is learn how to befriend our hidden emotions. So this is connected to what I spoke about, making peace with this primordial feminine energy. But this is always a humbling process, to be honest, for everyone, because our full feminine range, there are often judgments and aversions that are happening for women until they intentionally go into these deeply subtle practices that open and broaden your range of what you can access without any judgment on yourself. Because in order to have these beautiful experiences of more pleasure, more wealth, more beauty, more connection, more whatever you want, we've actually got to be able to have such fluency in as a conduit. And if there's like this habitual blocking, for example, of your true response of anger in a moment, what that can do is a lot of destructive things on a physical, biological level, emotional, psychological, relational, all of it. So that's just one example. There are obviously many, many, many different emotions. And when we can experience them as like a clear, spacious conduit that can just let it pass through in quite a aware way without unleashing it all at someone, I'm talking about, but being able to experience it and like kind of be cleansed because of it, be purified from it, rather than the, no, I'm not going to let myself feel that because I want to stay high vibration or something like this. There's a way where we've got to learn how to be more receptive in our whole bodies, more humble to our human experience without judgment. And then what that can do is it creates so much more space inside to be able to have all those beautiful things that you want to feel without unintentionally blocking them, when shying away from emotions that cause the frustration and suppression and limitation because of whatever patterning has been there in the past. And when that gets to happen in an all-female environment where you're learning deeply about how your feminine nervous system works, it's an extraordinary, liberating experience. And all of this that I've said happens in the context of what I call somatic self-leadership. And that's a way that we as women can lead ourselves into empowerment beyond procrastination, beyond stagnation, beyond lingering in victim mentality, or just the cycle of struggle and such similar things, and leading ourselves into the having of what we want from a place of very self-responsible, embodied power. And it takes, again, a lot of vulnerability and a lot of authenticity to be able to have that, because in the realm of somatic self-leadership, blame cannot coexist with it. So the degree, the level of self-responsibility is quite high. But what that makes available is all the things that you would love to be experiencing. And so there's a learning around that. And you may have even already encountered the class that I have on somatic self-leadership. And the reason I mention it now is because it is the context for the whole training. Each woman is being asked to learn how to embody that with everything that's coming up in your life, everything that might be coming up throughout the training. It's like a immersion in living from this energy. And when you're in connection with the community, actually, I said this in that masterclass workshop on somatic self-leadership, when you have a whole community around you that are also living it and practicing it, you will calibrate to it far more easily and far more quickly, because that's the energetic environment that you're in. And a beautiful outcome of this is not only part of like this learning of this training as such. When you anchor self-leadership, it then is happening in every other area of your life, because it's the place that you're coming from, a different new place that you're coming from inside yourself. And I've already spoken to today about the encouragement for you in this to find your own unique pathway. So that's an active process along the way. So it's almost like you're taking in the teachings and the practices, and at the same time, you're receiving your own channeling, your own guidance of how you're being guided from within to share it. And so it's like we place equal importance on both streams of consciousness, if you like. And that's not something that normally happens in an education process. And when it comes to the actual training, say you have decided to come, you've decided to enroll, it's open at any point for you to decide what capacity you want to participate in. And what I mean by that is that if you're there for certification, there are like a minimum required live hours that you need to engage with. However, if you're there just for personal, not just, but if you're there for personal transformation without doing the whole certification journey, you don't need to adhere to those dates and those training requirements. You can just take it in as you feel to, right? And luxuriate in it from a different place that you're participating from. So we keep it open for women to choose. But once you've chosen to be in the certification pathway, that's when we encourage you to stay committed to that. And that's where all that self-leadership rewiring and repatterning really gets to ground and anchor. Okay. The main modalities, the main approaches and methods that you're actually getting to experience in the embodiment guide training. I'm going to focus on that first level of training in particular right now. And so the map of the female psyche that you've already heard about in the first couple of days of this sharing, it is so relevant to many, many areas of focus in terms of how you could apply the learning. From business coaching to personal somatic therapy sessions, to anything around leadership, creative arts, literally anything. The relevance of this map of the female psyche, which we also refer to as the Lilith and Eve framework, it is across the board playing out within us and within other people around us. So when you bring that to your area of passion and focus and expertise, it's going to be something very, very useful. And this map is this deeply mythic somatic wisdom for the female nervous system. It's a contemplative map, even a diagnostic map, if you like, and a powerful resource to help understand yourself and others, and also be able to track how to help someone go from being limited and locked into a certain range on the map into where they wish to be. And you can actually quite thoroughly guide someone with the support, with the resource of the map, of the framework. And that's one of the main things you're actually learning, which is bound to be new, because no one's working with that knowledge in this particular way. It's quite unique to Somatic Feminine. And also what you would be getting trained in and be able to offer is women's embodiment, physical practice. Also you can call it sensual therapeutic movement. And this is about presence with self, body, breath, expression, movement. And there's a lot of emphasis on getting very acquainted with heart expression, feeling, and also with womb and instinctual body connection. And that is, quite frankly, a new thing for a lot of women to be feeling. And it helps us to take up more space in our whole bodies. And what that does is it allows a deeper level of consciousness to become very grounded in your being. So it's about inhabiting an expression of your full feminine range and feeling ease with that, like I mentioned before. It's mobilizing or expressing what was previously held as stuck energy, so that you can move into the post-trauma phase of where you hang out in the most in your life. It also is the result of this sensual therapeutic movement range of practices that are shared with you. It helps to build capacity to hold literally more life force, more power, more pleasure in your body. And it helps to make peace with the softer, the receptive range of energy and the more dynamic, strong energies, because we as women are both, and we need both. And I tend to call it our feminine yin and our feminine yang. And we absolutely require both for health and for empowerment. And there's just so much to explore within that. It's a very transformative experience. So through these embodiment practices that get shared with you, it's really where this map of the female psyche comes alive in your body and as an experience beyond words. And women get to actually feel what they've been learning about. I'm thinking of you when you are sharing this work with women later on. They get to understand, and then they get to totally have the experience in their bodies. And this happens, this sensual therapeutic movement happens quite slowly in a titrated way. So all the somatic therapy principles are applied to it. And it's not like hour-long practices. It's not like that. It's intentionally shorter because it's about doing it in great attunement with yours or with someone's nervous system. So it's very, very therapeutic in that way. There are shorter and longer versions, but the longer versions don't really go beyond, say, a half hour or so. And this embodiment training within this goes deeper in the second part of the full training, which is called Women's Embodiment Psychotherapy Coaching. So that's the stage after the embodiment guide certification. And really that's for women that want to focus on in-depth one-on-one support, somatic support with their clients, but also with groups. And so with what I've already explained about the embodiment practices that you learn in the first level of the training, that can also be one-on-one or in groups. You can do a combination of both. And there's emphasis on both how to do it well online as well as live in person. So you get trained for both environments. And firstly, I should add as well that this embodiment, sensual, therapeutic learning is primarily for you to meet yourself, your body, your own energies, and maybe even to build your own personal practice of this. Another thing that is quite unique to this training and a main approach or modality that you would be learning is female body psychology. And this is originally something that I started working with from years and years of women's ceremony, rites of passage, rituals. And it's been developed a lot since that time. So this is a potent discovery of your body type in terms of its strengths and its purpose. If you've ever had or been curious about having, say, like a palm reading, this is almost relating to your whole body in that way, being able to read the story, the somatic narrative that your body is innately saying through its incarnation. And this is something so sacred that it is also a deprogramming from what's called body dysmorphia. And in other words, the insidious conditioning for a woman to hate on her body, to reject it, to not accept it, to work so hard to make it different and just not be in appreciation of how your body naturally is. This is one of the most common and one of the most life force consuming experiences that a woman goes through in her lifetime. The amount of thought space, the amount of emotional energy that goes into this, the amount of money or whatever that goes into avoiding deep, profound somatic self-acceptance. I want to pause and take a breath here because I know this subject is big. Releasing comparison, releasing what I'm going to call internalized patriarchal programming that we women do to ourselves from taking in disconnected ideas from our environment and relating to ourselves through that. The dissolving of that is a very important part of this work. And it also can bring you into deep appreciation for all women, all their energies, all their body types, and actually understand what they're for and why they're like that. And I'm intentionally leaving a little bit of mystery around that because yeah, it's just such a massive subject, to be honest. And in the learning environment of this, it's not just the theory about it, although you do get that too. You get to actually learn this by witnessing yourself and the other women go through this dissolution journey. And it's a very moving and very sacred part of the training that you get to discover how your body that you're living in, that you could befriend in a way that is just providing you a map to your richness, to your strengths, to your gifts, to your purpose. And it's a different way of coming towards that clarity of what are your gifts, what are your strengths, what is your purpose, what is the story that the divine architecture of your female form is actually designed to be an expression of. And it's so effortless is the thing. You don't need to do anything or say anything for this purpose, for these strengths and gifts that you innately have to be felt by others. So discovering exactly what that really is for you, this gives you a different approach to embodiment, which includes a lot of heart awakening and a lot of befriending of your female form and the rightness of how it is and why it is exactly as it is. This is a very liberating part of the work. And one of the last things I want to mention here is another approach, another modality that you get to learn and share is women's circles in a somatic way. And to actually be in them, to just participate and receive them, and then be able to actually learn how to facilitate it. It gives you and the women that you share this work with the chance to relate the map, the framework of the Lilith and Eve psychology to themselves in the women's circle format. So this is obviously the group part. That is definitely a group experience within this training. It can happen very beautifully online, by the way, as well as live. And so you get to learn the foundation of how to facilitate a very deep approach to Women's Circle, which you then can also customize in your own creative way as well. It's a very ancient frequency where this type of Women's Circle is coming from. It's not staying on the surface, just having conversations about things. It's a truly sacred space that takes everyone who's there into a very non-ordinary type of experience of themselves and each other. It's an incredibly beautiful part of the journey. And having mentioned that, just say you decided to come and be part of the Women's Embodiment Guide certification, there is no pressure whatsoever to have to share all the components of what is given to you in the training. You get to receive it all for yourself, but maybe there's 30% of it that's relevant for you to share with your clients, or 50% or 100%. It's up to you. And I want to give you an example right now of a recent graduate. Her name is Kate Christensen, and she's doing very beautiful work around motherhood and mothering from a deeply somatic embodied perspective. So she's taken in the teachings and practices of the full training with me, actually. And her passion as a mother, as a being on this planet, is to really hone in on that area. And so whatever from the training is useful to facilitate that outcome, that's what she would bring to her clients one-on-one and with groups. And so there's no pressure to have to bring all of it at all, but you get to be trained in it so that you understand it deeply. And some parts might be entirely just for you. And some parts might be something that you get to professionally share as well. So we're coming towards the end here now. Oh, and I want to definitely make sure that you get the sense today that if you are on the certification track inside the training, it's very in-depth, detailed, we call it practicum labs now, where you get to know the methods in such a broken down, titrated way. We don't gloss over it, basically. You really get the confidence to develop your somatic skill sets with this, and you get real feedback. And you get to have practice runs of things. You get to go away and video record yourself doing it with someone outside the training. You get to have feedback on that, and then you send in your final assessments. So we're not just glossing over the surface saying just do this one thing and then you tick that off. I actually care about your skill level, about your confidence level. And while you're in the training, why not ground that in, right? Because in the post-training phase, if that's what you wanted, where you wanted to be eventually, I've got to tell you that the ability to put yourself out there, the ability to let all this help you make an income through doing very meaningful work in the world, if your somatic confidence is not fully there, it totally is going to impact that experience of how you share with the world about what you have to offer. It's totally going to impact, you know, the financial remuneration that you get to have post-training. And so it's taken quite seriously that when you sign up for the certification, you're not just getting it like an arbitrary piece of paper. It's a real, it's a real graduation experience. Yes. And details like dates and investments and further summaries of each thing that you get to learn, you can get all of that in a document that you can read after listening to this 3-part series if you wanted to. So I'm going to leave all of that to after this video. But for now, I just would love you to know as well that this is a real community of women. You know, we're not just communicating and in connection while the training process is happening. Everyone stays connected after, you know, we're a genuine sisterhood where there's a lot of care and respect of each other's lives and professional journeys and, you know, networking and recommendations. Like it's a very genuine peer support community amongst the graduates. And I think that's nice to know. I will just say a little bit more about what's involved in the full training. So after the year-long embodiment guide certification, there is an option if you wanted to do the full women's embodiment psychotherapy coaching certification. It's another 6 or so months. And that's when we go deeper into the somatic therapy methods, and you get to learn the specific practices that have been developed in this deep feminine approach that you don't learn in the embodiment training. This is entirely for someone who is very called to hold that one-on-one practitioner, somatic practitioner space. And there's more in-depth learning of the framework. There's deeper learning around how to use this map of the female psyche for releasing trauma identity in fairly permanent ways, and restructuring into empowerment. There's deeper teachings and practices around all of that, basically. There's more to the embodiment methods. You also get to learn about therapeutic relationship from a trauma therapy perspective. And this is very handy to know. Very practical and useful things around transference and projection, and also power dynamics, which leans into leadership and embodying a higher level of leadership when you're working with your community, with your clients post-training. And so, yes, I want to take a moment to breathe with you and pause with you here. And you're invited, you're very welcome to reach out. Do you have any sharing around hearing all of this? Do you have any questions after hearing all of this? Would you like to see the full training information? Would you like to know when the next enrollment begins? You get to ask all of that, so feel free to reach out on Instagram at Somatic Feminine, or through the Facebook community group, which is called the Somatic Feminine Community, or with me on Facebook, Dévashi Shakti, or also by email. And I'll put those contacts under this video for you as well. And the last thing I want to let you know that it's genuinely my joy to see more and more women reconnecting with their deep feminine nature, because it is such an extraordinary transformation to have in yourself. And basically, I want to be surrounded myself with more and more women that are living in this way, and more professional environments that can transmit this level of feminine intelligence. You know, I want to live in that world with you. And so I want to end here this 3-part series and invite you to stay in touch with other sharing that's coming up. There will be shorter personal immersions from time to time that will open up in the future. But if you happen to be feeling called to the full experience, or at least the first year, I welcome you to let me know, and we can connect and we can have a chat, and we can see if this truly is the right pathway for you, the right timing for you, and which avenue of this work with somatic feminine would be most ideal for you first. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being with me. And I hope I get to know you and get to meet you sometime. So take care, beautiful women.